As such, Python can be used for. What is Python? Python is a widely used high-level programming language created by Guido van Rossum in the late 1980s. The language places strong emphasis on code readability and simplicity, making it possible for programmers to develop applications rapidly. Like all high-level programming languages, Python code resembles the English language, which computers are unable to understand. Codes that we write in Python have to be interpreted by a special program known as the Python interpreter, which we'll have to install before we can code, test and execute our Python programs. We'll look at how to install the Python interpreter in Chapter 2. There are also a number of third-party tools, such as Py2exe or PyInstaller, that allow us to package our Python code into standalone executable programs for some of the most popular operating systems like Windows and macOS. This allows us to distribute our Python programs without requiring the users to install the Python interpreter. Why learn Python? There are a large number of high-level programming languages available, such as C, C++, and Java. The good news is all high-level programming languages are very similar to one another. What differs is mainly the syntax, the libraries available, and the way we access those libraries. A library is simply a collection of resources and pre-written codes that we can use when we write our programs. If you learn one language well, you can easily learn a new language in a fraction of the time it took you to learn the first language. If you are new to programming, Python is a great place to start. One of the key features of Python is its simplicity, making it the ideal language for beginners to learn. Most programs in Python require considerably fewer lines of code to perform the same task compared to other languages such as C. This leads to fewer programming errors and reduces the development time needed. In addition, Python comes with an extensive collection of third-party resources that extend the capabilities of the language. As such, Python can be used for a large variety of tasks, such as for desktop applications, database applications, network programming, game programming, and even mobile development. Last but not least, Python is a cross-platform language, which means that code written for one operating system, such as Windows, will work well on macOS or Linux without making any changes to the Python code. Convinced that Python is the language to learn? Let's get started. Chapter 2. Getting ready for Python, installing the interpreter. Before we can write our first Python program, we have to download the appropriate interpreter for our computers. We'll be using Python 3 in this book because, as stated on the official Python site, Python 2, X is legacy, Python 3, X is the present and future of the language. In addition, Python 3 eliminates many quirks that can unnecessarily trip up beginning programmers. However, note that Python 2 is currently still rather widely used. Python 2 and 3 are about 90% similar. Hence, if you learn Python 3, you will likely have no problems understanding codes written in Python 2. To install the interpreter for Python 3, head over to. The correct version should be indicated at the top of the web page. Click on the version for Python 3 and the software will start downloading. Alternatively, if you want to install a different version, scroll down the page and you'll see a listing of other versions. Click on the release version that you want. We'll be using version 3.4.2 in this book. You'll be redirected to the download page for that version. Scroll down towards the end of the page and you'll see a table listing various installers for that version. Choose the correct installer for your computer. The installer to use depends on two factors. 1. The operating system, and 2. The processor that you are using. For instance, if you are using a 64-bit Windows computer, you will likely be using the Windows x86-64MZ installer. Just click on the link to download it. If you download and run the wrong installer, no worries.